Good evening, everybody. This is Pete Morris. We have the Zoom for tonight. This is the night just before Oshkosh, so it's going to be probably slim pickings. And just for those that are tuning in, this is the topic that we're doing. There are actually two topics. This is the second one, the laser altimeter for Comanches, and then the first one is VFR and IFR Fun ForeFlight hacks. Jim Worley is going to go through his ForeFlight setup to show how it can be used for all the different ways to, well, they're right there, to define waypoints, sketch a function for special NOTAM arrivals, zoom or pan, and adding or removing waypoints dynamically. It'll all be illustrated by what he's going to do. And he's going to use the Oshkosh approach as his example. He is also going to do one for IFR, again, using the Oshkosh approach. So that's going to be kind of neat. The second topic, as I said before, is the laser altimeter. Ned Robb of MicroKit Solutions is going to be talking about that. The wording here is CJ's, and she's right about that. The altimeter reads off at your altitude as you're coming in. It'll tell you you're 200 feet up, 100 feet up, 50 feet up, yada, yada. And it really does keep the surprise out of the landings, and it's very helpful at night when you have trouble with the depth vision in terms of your landing, especially when you can't see under the wing. It's not so bad when you're in a high wing so you can see the wheels, but boy, it's tough when you got the wing in the way. So that's what's going on for tonight. At this point, we have a few people here, and I keep letting people in. So we'll go with the old-fashioned who you are, where you are, and what you fly kind of thing. I'll go back to the gallery view, and you can all unmute yourself and chit chat away.
Hi, I'm Terry Lindsey. Anybody there?
Yep. Where are you at, Terry, and what do you fly?
260B at Whiteman Airport in Southern California.
All right. And you're not going to Oshkosh?
Nope, nope.
Any particular reason, or just is too far away?
My annual just expired, and I'm having, not my annual, my physical, the basic, and I'm having trouble finding somebody to get it done in time.
Oh, wow. Well, I've got the other problem. My annual is expired.
My annual is in September.
You know, mine technically was in May.
Fortunately, I'm allowed to do it myself with somebody supervising me, and so that, instead of a lot of money, cost me $300 about.
That's not bad at all. All righty. Anybody else? Key the mic. Tell you who you are, where you are, and what you're flying.
Rich Birdman, 9242 Papa, 67260B, nice airplane, Gillespie Field, Santee, California. And I remember when I was working on military aircraft, we had the microwave altimeter, which went underneath most of the helicopters, I believe, if I can remember right, the APN 130. And boy, did it work good, since I was doing installation and checkout and all kinds of stuff on that. Laser, probably better, and probably a whole lot cheaper than that one back then.
There was that one caveat that CJ had put in there, that the laser altimeter, if the lens gets dirty, then it doesn't work.
Yep.
So
that's right.
Be careful. You don't want to put it in the stream for the oil. Anybody else? Well, I'm Pete Morris. I am in Connecticut. I'm in at Danielson, Connecticut. I fly a 250, and I've had it for a while here. I fly all over the place, down to Lakeland and stuff like that. I'm not flying to Oshkosh because I have too many other things going on that I have to be back here for. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
CJ Stump here, currently in Rensselaer, Indiana. I'll go show you guys the airplane. 5.4 Pop wasn't out annual yet, and 8.5 Pop got out the day before yesterday and is performing beautifully. So we should be landing at Baraboo tonight.
I kind of thought that earlier on looked like a headliner, not the inside of a building.
Courtney James out here in Yucca Valley, California, just east of Palm Springs, 6560.
John Fudder, 1969 260C, based in Orange, Mass. I'm in Greenfield, Mass. My daughter's birthday is on Sunday, and I don't dare miss that to go to Oshkosh. I'll stick to that excuse.
How many years young is your daughter?
She is now going to be 26.
Yep. Yeah, you better be there.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Ned Robb. I'm the founder and the designer of the landing height system here at Microkit. We are based in Chicago, so it's only a 3 hours drive to Oshkosh. Definitely we're going to Oshkosh. I personally fly a Lancer 360.
And Ned, you're going to be at Oshkosh during part of the week to talk with people, correct?
Yes, we're not going to be exhibiting, but we're going to be visiting.
Good, good. You know, the high impact days are going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There's I think 65 on Tuesday and Thursday, and 67 on Wednesday. Comanches that are going to be there.
Comanche, yeah. I'm not sure if I personally going to make the Comanche group, but you know, Oshkosh is huge. So I'm personally going to be there just for a day from early morning to the end of the day. And then my other guys probably going to be around as well.
Yeah, well, everybody will be congregating in ComancheTown, which is at the bottom of the old Vintage area, right by the restaurant. I forgot the name of the restaurant.
So for ComancheTown, how many of y'all are planning to go to ComancheTown? Because probably I should say a quick something right before we get started, if I'm still on the ground.
Well, go for it right now, actually. It's going to be recorded.
Yeah, but it's time sensitive. I can say it now and then say it again. So ComancheTown, in short, I got a call this morning from one of the co-chairs of Vintage Parking saying basically, sounding very calm. He's like, I'm like, Randy, you sound very calm about this. He's like, well, under the water. He's like, they keep calling me a duck. Under the water, I'm paddling as fast as I can. And so what he said is that it's a very strange year, that they had a bunch of groups fly in say, you never posted in the right place, that we couldn't reserve spots and start reserving spots. And as you all might know, ComancheTown's been working closely with Vintage to stay within the rules. And so Vintage is happily working back with us. So ComancheTown is established. It is at the southern end of runway 1836. It looks like we'll probably be in 4 rows there. And then as other airplanes come in, it's going to be pretty much, for those of you who saw the interview with Randy Hightree last week, it's going to be pretty much what you expect. Come in today or tomorrow if you possibly can. If you come in later than tomorrow, it's very likely that you'll end up going south of the flight line, runway 1836. They've done a ton to improve the feel and add lots and lots of drainage. And then Vintage is actively going to be bringing Comanches forward to park in ComancheTown core. But if you don't, if you're like, you know what, we're good where we are, we just want to be with people, bring your chair up, come and have fruity drinks. The other piece of information is the mass arrivals. And I am going to just do a quick share screen, if that's okay, because if you are coming into ComancheTown or you know anybody who is, you don't want to try to arrive during the mass arrival schedule. And so I'm going to, Pete, if it's okay with you, could I just throw that up on my screen for a second?
Go for it.
Okay, thanks. 1 second. Let's see, start broadcast. Come on, phone, get me to my photos. Sorry, everybody. Here we are. I'm just going to flip it sideways, and then this is an update from Pat Donovan, who's sorry, as you can see, who's on the flight line there. Zach Grant, Tucker Rice, 3 of my co-hosts are all down on the ground there. And then I will be at the casual assembly point Baraboo tonight, where a bunch of people are getting together, hoping to have dinner. The Clarion gave us an incredible ComancheTown rate, and there's another incredible given that it's half price, but it's more expensive rate tomorrow night. So the big thing to know is if you know of anybody flying into Oshkosh, whether or not they're going to ComancheTown, it's helpful to know that these are the mass arrival scheduled times. You don't want to be trying to fly in at these times. It will be very difficult. Any questions?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Back over to you, Pete.
Oh, I just had one quick question.
Yeah.
How, like, we're planning on coming in on Sunday morning, like first thing. Like, how long do the mass arrivals usually take?
We were trying to figure that out too. And we actually, it depends on how big they are. In general, they're probably, it depends. I actually did a bunch of reading because next year there's some interest in trying to get a Comanche mass arrival together. And so I was reading Cessnas to Osh, Cherokees to Osh, Bonanzas to Osh, and the Mooney Caravan guys. Invited Comanches to just come to their side, and then they have to divide them by 3, and then the straggler ends up being the tail. They'll come in more quickly than a bunch of airplanes flying in trail. By the way, whoever that young aviator is, hello, so cool to see you. So we actually don't know the answer to that. It's probably, can somebody who's more experienced with formation flying, if I tell you that the Cessnas to Osh have 126, I think the Cherokees to Osh are something similar. And I think they tend to fly 3-ship formations because it's simple enough even for people that are just regular pilots to learn pretty quickly in like 2 sessions. Anybody who's done formation want to jump in and make a guess?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
The question was, how long does a mass arrival take? So let's say you have 130 airplanes flying 3-ship formations at either 9, let's just say you're flying it at 90 knots.
Okay, the Bonanzas typically have like between 100 and 140 planes. And that usually takes, when things work really well, about 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that gives me an idea at least. So it shouldn't be too long for like 35 planes.
It gets,
Now, the one thing I will say is that I think that I need to add something because it's relevant. So when Randy called, he said, it's kind of a madhouse. They expect that it's possible that the field will close. And I need to check my notes. So would it be all right if I put a note into the chat window real quick about when it is? And they can't say this for sure. They think it's going to close because they think they're going to run out of parking spaces. And I think he said that they thought it might close as early as Sunday afternoon or Monday morning. They think that Comanches, the ComancheTown is probably going to get its size capped when the southbound flow of airplanes being packed in meets the northbound flow. We think that's going to happen either tonight or tomorrow morning. We think it's probably going to be tomorrow morning because the flow of arrivals today has actually been really light. Oh, I'm sorry, today's Thursday. We think by Saturday morning, ComancheTown core, the one that's right on the flight line at the south end of 18 will be capped. So that's my news. Just if you've registered, we'll be sending out updates. We're posting updates on Facebook, and because all of the co-hosts are also flying to Oshkosh, we've sort of done our best to get the information out wherever we can do it really quickly. But I think Pete and Pat Donovan will be working together to get email updates out starting probably tomorrow morning, because that's when most people are trying to arrive. Sorry to take so much time, but it's a big trip and I want to make sure people are not surprised or disappointed. it's the biggest Oshkosh ever is what they think is going to happen. They have 2 years of demand going into 1 year, plus everybody's just wanting to get out and do stuff after COVID. Maybe I should say after lockdown.
Okay, again, I'm going to share what we're doing tonight. For those that didn't get a quick look at it, this is, well, we're going to go back for topic number 1 is the laser altimeter for Comanches. Ned Rob will be on from MicroKit Solutions. And then, oh, sorry, that's number 2. Number 1 is the VFR IFR Fun ForeFlight hacks. Jim Worley will be using the approach to the NOTAM approach to Oshkosh as a sample of how to do it with ForeFlight using the different user-defined waypoints, the sketch function, and all the rest of the stuff. Yeah, I'm choking on popcorn, I'm sorry. But that's what's going on tonight. And we will be starting up on that at about 7:30.
Continue with audio. Audio.
Hello, George.
Oh,
Anybody that wants to, key the mic and say who you are, where you are, and what you're flying. And maybe why you're not going to Oshkosh.
Well, I'm John Westerfield. I hope to go to Oshkosh Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And hope to see everybody.
All righty. Thank you, John.
I'm Bill Williams. I'm up in northern Vermont. I won't be going to Oshkosh because my plane won't be back in the air till September.
Ah,
You guys, well, welcome. Good to see you and good to have you in here.
CJ, in your flight today, did you encounter smoke problems?
Not problems, but yes. So the visibility was, as we got towards the Midwest, I'm in Rensselaer, Indiana right now. You can definitely tell that the smoke's made it this far east, and you can smell it sometimes.
Yeah, I went flying 2 days ago down to Westerly, as a matter of fact. And at 2,500 feet, it was almost IFR. And on the way back, I could definitely smell it.
Wow.
In Western Massachusetts, the moon, it was a clear night. The moon was orange.
Yep, I noticed that too.
Wow.
That's a typical summer in California these days.
Somebody mentioned that looking down, he thought he was over Saigon.
Okay, flight plan acknowledged and expected route received as.
Pete, I'm Bill Hicks at 4 Victor 1 in Walsenburg, Colorado, just south of, let's see, of Pueblo. I fly a 260 Comanche, and I won't be going to Oshkosh, but smoke is a everyday occurrence out here.
Yeah, yeah. And congratulations on being able to change your name.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Crockmell in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 6559 Pop. And hopefully we will be going to Oshkosh. We're finishing things up on our annual and 1,000-hour gear. It should be done tomorrow and ready to test fly. And then we're going on Saturday to meet up with some friends and flying in early Sunday morning with my wife, Mikkel, and our baby Amy, who's almost 2 years old, who you saw earlier.
And Dave, you're not going to be home for the ICS fly-in there next Saturday?
I didn't even know it was happening, but you know.
I'm pretty sure it's Lancaster. It's one of the Pennsylvania airports, and it seemed very strange to me that they would try and schedule something so close to Oshkosh when everybody basically is traveling.
Yeah, it does, and especially since the airport's having a Wings and Wheels event for half the day on Saturday. I think from like 10 to 2.
That may be why it's done that day. Okay, all right, that explains it.
It is July 24th at Lancaster.
Yep. That's the ICS one, which is for ICS people only. Anybody else want to join in? Key the mic, who you are, where you are, what you fly, and why you're not going to Oshkosh. That scared everybody away. Come on. We got 30 people. There's got to be somebody that can talk.
That's so cute.
Just a quick note, if you are going to be going to Oshkosh, please register. I'm going to have to be engine start in a moment here, so I'm going to ring off. But John, I just saw your message. Register and say you just check the box that says you're driving in, and that way you'll be on the notification list.
All right, very good.
You bet. Mm-hmm. Did you check the email?
I did.
Okay, great.
There, that's how you register, right there. Go to Northeast Comanche and you'll find a form link at the top of the page. Click on that and you will find a form for Oshkosh.
Okay, sorry I missed last week. I had a helicopter school, so I'll go back and review the video on that. Looking forward to seeing everybody.
All righty.
Hi, Mike Meadows here with a buddy at Baraboo, heading out to Oshkosh, hopefully with the gang tomorrow morning.
Good. I see Jim Peters from Australia is back on. I don't imagine he's going to Oshkosh, or he hasn't left yet anyhow.
When are you going up, Pete?
I am not going to Oshkosh. I have a couple of problems. My plane is out of annual right now, and it's out of a left-hand brake. And I have so many other things I've got to do here that I just can't get away.
Next year.
Yeah. I did have a good time going down to Lakeland for the Sun and Fun. And I may try that again. But Oshkosh for me is a little bit overwhelming. Now we got 30 people. Someone's got to know how to turn on the mic and talk.
Scott Swanson's here, Pensacola, not going to Oshkosh because the plane's in the annual, but I am eating a bratwurst for dinner.
All right. Yeah, I have a feeling quite a few planes are having the annual conundrum. They're either about to go in or have yet to come out.
Well, I didn't really want mine in July, so hopefully it'll roll over into August. The next year it won't be a problem.
You know, like I said earlier, mine was supposed to be done in May, and it got rolled over to June, and then now July, and maybe next week they'll actually start it. So mine's going to end up in August too.
Yeah, July is not a good time for annual to come due.
No. Well, luckily it's right here at my home airport, and I get to work on it, so that works out okay.
Well, good luck.
And we're getting down to about 7:30 here. And we might get up to, yeah, Jim Worley is back on. If he's ready to go, we'll do that at about 3 or 4 minutes from now. And then we'll get to the altimeter, the laser altimeter. Yeah, I think it's CJ has put the link for registering for Oshkosh for ComancheTown in the chat window, and it is a link, so you'll be able to just click on it and go.
Hey Pete, it's Jim. You probably see me, but I'm not sure where I am on your screen, but I'm back whenever, so I'm ready whenever you're ready.
Yep, I got you. No problem. I see you. I thought I'd give a quick share of what's more here. This is what it looks like for the attendance at Oshkosh. Right there. Those are the Comanches that are expecting to try and be in ComancheTown. This is the early arrival people. So it's you know, that's the group that'll be coming in, and then Saturday, Sunday through Sunday is Oshkosh itself with the high here. This is actually, well, no, it's 61. It is, it's an older one. This is now 67 as the high on Wednesday and 65 on Tuesday and Thursday. So there's, you know, like 10 more aircraft planning to be there. It's going to be quite a show. Okay, Jim, if you want to go ahead, this is the topic of using ForeFlight, and he's using the Oshkosh Arrival as his example. All the different tricks and trade secrets that you can do with ForeFlight. So Jim, go ahead and share, and I'm going to mute everybody while you do it. Jim, you will have to unmute after this. Okay, everybody's muted. Jim, you unmute and go for it.
All right, hey everybody, well, thanks for dialing in. Give me 1 second, I'll get my screen shared here.
I might suggest everybody go to the speaker view, because that way you'll see his face up close and personal.
Hopefully what you're going to see is my iPad. So that's more important than my face, because I'm not that pretty to look at. So we've tested this twice, so there it goes. All right. I'll start off just real quick. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jim Worley. I've had a Comanche I've got a 61-250 that I've had for about 12 years now, and I've got about 1,000 hours in it, including 12 hours in the last 36. So my background, I'm not a CFI. I have a military background. I've been flying F-15s for about 26 years in the Air Force, and I've been an instructor in the Air Force for about 19 years and a check pilot in the Air Force for about 12 of that, but I'm not a CFI on the civilian side. So everything I'm going to talk about is purely and completely technique, and hopefully you'll learn something. And I think even more so than looking at ForeFlight, it's just a chance for us to talk through the arrival for those of you who are going up to Oshkosh. So hopefully what you're seeing is my and I'm sorry. And then the other topic that CJ asked me to cover real quick was the IFR arrivals into Oshkosh. So I think this ForeFlight thing here will take maybe 15 minutes or so, depending on questions that y'all have. And then I've got about 10 minutes or so on the IFR arrival system in case anybody wants to file IFR or the weather does get bad and we have to start trying to get in there IFR. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and jump into it. Hopefully what you're seeing is my iPad screen. I'll be honest with you, what I did was it took me about, I don't know, about 30 minutes to set this up. The great thing that I learned about ForeFlight with this was the map annotations is what they call it. It looks like, and let me get my little pointer here. It looks like, it's this little button right here on the left side of your screen, and it looks like a pen. It will spotlight this. It basically, when you turn that on, it allows you to draw things on the screen with use your finger. I found a little stylus works the best. When you turn it on, you can see you get a whole list of things up here at the top. Probably the primary thing that you want to look at is up here in the corner, and basically it shows you, how thick the line needs to be. You can choose different colors. I found that a 2 or a 3 point works well. It's not too fat. It allows you to write fairly well. And then the cool thing about when you do write on your screen is you can see here with these numbers how big you write. It gets scaled as you scale the map in and out. It scales your writing at the same time. So things that I wanted to be able to see, when I was farther away from Oshkosh, I wrote in bigger letters so that as I'm zoomed out, as I'm coming in, I'm flying in from Arkansas in the morning. So I'm going to be flying in from basically over Cedar Rapids or just to the east of Cedar Rapids there. I'm going to be, you can see, I'll be able, even as I'm zoomed out on the map, I can read the things that I need. And what those 2 lines there represent, if you start talking about the arrival, it talks about different flows. And so those are the 2 flows for going around the Madison class Charlie airspace. I put them both in there in case I had to deviate to the east because of weather. I've got the frequencies in there. So out on the west side below 5,000, it's 13445, and above 5,000, it's 12685 for Madison approach. And then on the east side, if you are east of the line I drew and above 15,500 feet, you call 119.5. If you're anywhere else, you call 120.1. So anyway, so that's right out of the NOTAM, but that's the kind of the first thing that you'll notice going in there that I've got drawn on the Arrival ForeFlight. My goal, if I didn't state it before, is hopefully if I put enough and the appropriate information on this screen, it's right there in front of me, and I don't have to pull that NOTAM out and try to find information after, in the middle of the flying or while I'm trying to look outside and make sure I don't hit somebody else and all those other things. So I'm going to zoom in here. I guess I should reach to the correct screen. So what I basically did was I called up the, and you see I left the little drawing thing on over here on the left, and that made me draw a blue line. So whenever you want to get rid of things, you can just hit the back button that I just touched up here in the corner, and that erases the last thing you did. All right. So the other thing to know is that once you draw stuff on there, it's persistent. And so what I mean by persistent is if you close ForeFlight and then reopen it, it'll still be there. If you, as long as you don't go in there and manually say, clear the screen, which is again done up here in the left-hand corner, I'm sorry, up here in the right-hand corner, as long as you don't hit the clear button, all the stuff that you draw will stay there, no matter how many times you open and close ForeFlight, no matter how many times you zoom it in, zoom it out. So what I did was I put in those visual points. So out here at so you've got, I forget E and V, and I forget the name off the top of my head right there is the starting point that they might use. And you got Polk Lake and then you've got Green Lake, and then of course Ripon, and then up here at the top you've got Fisk. And if I zoom in a little more, you can actually read my writing. Actually, I scratched that out because I wrote the wrong identifier. So it's FSK is for Fisk. So anyway, so you can see, obviously the plan is to go straight to Ripon. The other thing that you'll notice here is, so like I said, we've got got the 3 points, and I've got the line between them. So I don't have to do anything. I can just fly my little airplane along that line without having to go into ForeFlight, type something in, do anything else. I have the altitude, the airspeed that I need. I've got all the holds if I need to enter them. You can see at Polk Lake there, it's a left-hand turns, and the solid arrow right here for me, and I've got a solid arrow on all 3 holding patterns, because that's where you exit. When they say it's time to exit the holding pattern, that solid arrow is where you're supposed to exit the holding pattern from. So I'm planning, if I do have to go into the hold at 2,300 in all of them. The NOTAM says you basically hold at the standard altitude, so either 1,890 knots or 2,300 and 135 knots as you're going in there. And then same thing up here at the hold in the north. Probably the next highlight going in there is, I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit so you guys can see that. So I've highlighted right here Pickett, and Pickett is the little town along the railroad tracks there just before you get to Fisk, where they're supposed to start talking to you. So as I'm flying along that line, I am expecting that somewhere on or about Pickett, I'm going to hear a radio call. Talking to Pete and the guys who were at Sun and Fun, they said they were using ADSB, and they were actually calling people by their call sign. So they're either going to say, brown and white Comanche, rock your wings, or they're going to say 7344 Papa, rock your wings, and I'm going to rock my wings, and then they're going to, do the standard stuff. The next highlight I've got drawn in here is gear. According to the NOTAM, they want you to try to drop your gear at Fisk. And as we all know, those of you who've been up there before, it doesn't look like it here, but Fisk is actually pretty dang close to just an extended base if you're landing to the north. So I'm going to try to throw my gear down just as I roll out on Fisk Avenue there. And assuming we're going to go roll around there and land to the north. And then, I'm planning on staying at, that question was asked last week, was when do you descend? And I've read that NOTAM about 15 times, and nowhere in there does it say anything about when you would descend out of 2,300. The only thing in the NOTAM talking about descending, and I'm going to get in a little aside here. So you can see here in the south, I've got my blue lines drawn for either the railroad transition or the Fisk transition. If we're landing to the north, I plan on turning base and landing obviously on the right or the left. The only place that in the NOTAM that it talks about descending is that if we're landing to the south and they give you the Fisk transition and you turn left here into this extended downwind, it says after you roll out on downwind, then start your descent. That is the only place in the NOTAM that it talks about descending on the Fisk or the railroad transition. So that's, for me, that's what those blue lines represent, is that if I end up having to go to land on runway, do the Fisk transition for a landing to the south, I know that once I roll out on base there, those blue lines are telling me that that's where I can start descending. The other thing, if you zoom up a little bit closer, as I get closer to the field, a couple points I got is if I'm landing on the right, if I'm landing on the east runway, so and I need to break out or I need to go around, I'm going to turn to the right. And obviously I didn't complete the arrow. You're really supposed to turn all the way around and go back to the southeast. In both cases, talk to the tower, and they're going to then resequence you, and they may actually send you all the way back to Ripon or Fisk. If you're on the west runway, same thing. You're going to go the other way. The highlight here, I've got this purple line annotated in here. This is the do not go further north than. So you're not supposed to go further north than the tower. So that line, I pulled up if you go into ForeFlight here and pull up the aerial map of Whitman, you can find where the tower is. You can see it on the map. It's about right in there. And so that's how I figured that out and got rid of it and then drew that line. So that gives me all the visual stuff that I need to get myself into into the north-south runway. Let me zoom back out here a little bit. Obviously, if you're on the railroad transition, you're going to follow one up the railroad tracks and you're going to turn left. You're either going to land to the east on runway 9, or you're going to enter an extended downwind and then do a right base to land on 27. So no biggies there. The other things that you'll notice that I did was I actually put in 2 user points into ForeFlight, railroad transition and FISC transition. And so what that allows me to do is actually load them into a flight plan. So I'll just give me 1 second here. So 4 Mike 1 to OSH, send it to the map. And so you can see I've basically got all the points put in here. And my plan is, even though I've got my route flowing up here to the furthest out point, as I get closer, I'll just pick, whichever point they tell me to go to, and I'll make that my direct to point, and I'll skip these others that I don't need. But what I also did was, by adding in these user defined points right here, in my case, I call them FISC TX and Railroad TX, I can now put them into my flight plan, which you can see right there. And that way, if I've always got a needle, or I can look at the map with my heads up while I'm looking outside, I can glance at my iPad and know that I'm going the direction that I want to be going. And for me, I don't have the fancy GPS, which allows my ForeFlight to talk to my GPS. So I had 6 hours in the airplane today. While I was flying along, I actually pre-programmed those points into my GPS as well, so that I can load them into my GPS flight plan as well. So I'll literally have a pointer on my HSI pointing me to where I need to go, so that I don't screw it up. All right, so that's kind of the general going in there. The other thing that I've added, you can kind of see in big letters off to the side here. I did it over the lake because it's black and it gives a good background to see the stuff. So I've got all the frequencies that I need. So I don't have to be shuffling paper or doing anything like that as I'm trying to look outside, make sure that I don't hit somebody or let somebody run into me. So you've got ATIS, then you got FISC approach, and then either the south tower or the north tower up here, depending on which runway and which transition you get. And then the last thing is, because I think this would be the one that would happen the quickest. If for some reason at the last minute they sent me down into Fond du Lac, I went ahead and drew that in. And so it's basically go down Fisk Avenue, turn right, go down Highway 44 and follow Highway 44 down to Fond du Lac. What this line right here represents, that cross line right there, that is about 10 miles from Fond du Lac. And what the NOTAM says is at 10 miles from Fond du Lac, you're going to switch over, get ATIS, and then roll to the Fond du Lac tower and tell them you're inbound. And so I got the 2 frequencies there, and I've got the point. So again, I don't have to start measuring or figuring out where things are. I can just follow along on my ForeFlight to get me there. So as a quick aside, again, so the last time I deployed was in 2019, and we were flying out of Aldafra over near the Arabian Gulf up to Iraq and Syria. The airplane I fly, we actually completely used our Stratus and our ForeFlight to navigate the busiest airspace in the world, which is the airspace going up and down the Arabian Gulf, because it was much better than what we had in our airplane. And then we, put the ForeFlight and the Stratus away as we got into, Iraq and Syria, and used our tactical systems, which is what they were designed to do, and they work great there. But so I got very familiar and very used to using this, and it's, and it worked great for us in that situation. So anyway, a quick aside. So that was really all I was going to show. That, like I said, so I'll back up. Probably the highlight is the ability to take, as we talked about before, and I apologize for this red line over here not going away, take the map, that again is called the drawing layer on the map. If you don't have this little drawing symbol right here, you can pull down the settings up here at the top and scroll down, and you can see right here, it says map annotations, and I have that slider turned on. That's how you turn it on if you're not seeing it on your ForeFlight already. I don't honestly remember if it defaults to on. So you may have it and you may not, but that's how you turn it on right there. It's called map annotations. So I'll mark it again. It's right there. Okay. All right. Before I move into the IFR, does anybody have any questions or anything that I said that didn't make sense, or as I normally say, spears or bullshit flags? Pete, I can't see the chat, so I don't know if anybody might have typed anything in the chat. It looks like there's 10 things in there.
When you make notes on this particular map, you're making notes and it comes out red and it immediately disappears. Is that, how does that happen?
That is just me. That is a Zoom thing. That is not a ForeFlight thing.
Yeah, right.
That disappearing line is purely for the purposes of this demonstration on Zoom.
That's the way that works.
And oh, by the way, these lines are a layer, you know, if you're familiar with the term layer as far relative to maps and computer stuff, these lines are a layer and they're always on top. So regardless of what map, whether you're looking at, I don't have any maps called up, but if you want to pull up the sectional, you can pull up the sectional and you can see all the lines that I drew are still on top of it. So the lines will always be on top.
For those of you who may think it has been fed by a fire hose here, this is being recorded. You can go back tomorrow and review all of this thing step at a time.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, one of the things, interestingly, if you're, I hate to say it, I'm a closet geek, so I'm trying to do this whole brief using ForeFlight. So I'm gonna switch over to the Scratchpad, and I basically made a slide yesterday. And I apologize, I got to figure out how to get rid of this eraser. Let's see if I can get rid. There we go. All right. So, if you guys can see, so I'm changing topics. I'm switching over to IFR and how to file IFR into Oshkosh. I'm not. A lot of these rules are the same for the other local areas, but I'm specifically going to be talking about Oshkosh. I will show you a page of all the other airports that fall under the Oshkosh NOTAM for IFR arrivals. I'll show you that page here in a minute, but specifically I'm going to be primarily talking about Oshkosh. All right, so starting off, as far as making an online reservation to fly IFR into Oshkosh, you can only do it IFR. And you do it at this website right here. This is right out of the NOTAM. So you don't have to remember what I wrote, but it's right in the NOTAM. I think I meant to write the page down. I apologize. I didn't write it down. One of the things you have to do if you've never used the STMP system, you have to register for it. Now it's immediate. You basically register, you put in your email address. As soon as you put in your email address and hit enter, the system sends you an email with a confirmation number. I will tell you that I never got my confirmation number and I had to call the FAA help desk, but the guy was immediately helpful. He fixed me in 30 seconds. He gave me my confirmation number and I was in. So don't think that you're going to, call at the last minute. It takes, it's a 5-minute thing to make sure you get into the site and then get ready to look at these, to get ready to get a reservation. Okay, hold on. I'm going to move to documents and show you a picture, not that picture. Okay. So I'm showing you a screenshot. So once you get into the STMP system, it looks like this. And what you're looking at here is, this is actually, this screen right here doesn't come up until you click this button right here where it says look up available slots. When you hit that, you will get a second window. It'll look like this green screen here, and you can see all the slots that are still open for, and these are Zulu times, by the way. You can see all the slots that are open. So you kind of know, what's available and what's not available. You're basically going to go through and fill out all the data here. There's nothing, it's all self-explanatory. There's nothing hard about it. One of the things you can select, you can put in here the time that you want, and then you can also say, yeah, you know, if there's other slots available, if the time I want's not available and the other slots available, you can tell them that and they will auto pick another one for you by the choices that you make there. Once you're done, then you click request reservation. Before I move on to the next screen, I want to highlight over here on the left side is, you know, the kind of standard, right? You can change your password and all that stuff. The other thing, the other key is right here, confirm reservation. All right, I'm going to get back to that in the slides. So close that one. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you put your thing in. It says, yep, you've got a slot. So this is a reservation number. This is not a confirmation number. So this doesn't mean that I'm legal to fly into Oshkosh yet, because I haven't confirmed it and they haven't given me a confirmation number. So this is just how to identify the reservation. This is not your confirmation number. So it just gives you a thing here that says, yep, this is what you signed up for. And then it tells you what you're supposed to do down here at the bottom. And we're going to talk about more about that in a second. And then the final thing I just want to highlight. So when you look, so these are, if you look in the NOTAM, I think it's page 25, the list of all the airports that are supposed to, that fall under this IFR arrival in the Oshkosh area is there. The other thing that's interesting is look at the number of slots that are available. So if you go in here and look at OSH, it's 8 an hour. So we're expecting 10,000 airplanes over the 2 weeks, but Oshkosh only accepts 8 IFR arrivals per hour. So that just gives you a little, gives you a little flash. All right. Go back to the Scratchpad. All right. So I've talked about some of this stuff. So if you try to log in, if you try to request a slot more than 72 hours in advance, you'll get a warning that says you can't request it. They won't even take your request until inside of 72 hours prior to your arrival. As we already talked about, there's 8 arrival slots an hour. And like I said, you will get an error. There's nothing wrong with your system, but if you're more than 72 hours, it will give you an error on the screen and say you can't log in more than 70, or you can't request more than 72 hours prior. All right, once you request it, and I showed you the screen there, slots have to be reconfirmed between 12 and 24 hours prior. Once you reconfirm it, then you will get a confirmation number. If you don't have a confirmation number to put on your IFR flight plan, then you are not cleared to fly into the Oshkosh area to whichever airport you're trying to go to. If you don't go into that website and on that, click that little button over there on the side that I showed you already that says confirm between 12 and 24 hours prior, at 11 hours and 59 minutes prior, they give away your slot and they give it to somebody else. All right, so that's how you get a slot. Once you have a slot and you're getting ready to fly, take off and fly in there, what they ask is that you file your flight plan as early as possible. However, the maximum you can file it is 22 hours prior. So they want you to file it no later than 6 hours prior. So the window is somewhere between 22 hours prior to takeoff and 6 hours prior to takeoff. It's what they're looking for. Use the routings in the NOTAM, and I'm going and then put the confirmation number in the remarks section. I'm going to show you the picture of the routings here at the end. So just if you got questions about that, hang on for a second. They do say if you're departing less than 600 nautical miles from Oshkosh, then you need to be sure and get your clearance on the ground. Don't think that you're going to take off and get your clearance in the air, because you may get put in holding, is what the NOTAM says. And then finally, make your slot time, plus or minus 15 minutes. If you don't make your slot time, then they may give it away. They understand weather and stuff like that. And so, I'm not sure that, obviously if you get there and you're, relatively close and you have, valid reasons, I'm sure they're not turning you away, but just recognize that they want you to make your slot time. What they ask is that if the Oshkosh weather is greater than 4,505, they want you to cancel at 60 nautical miles and go to the VFR arrival that we already talked about. If Oshkosh weather is less than 4,505, then you should expect radar vectors to the RNAV for either 9 or 27, whichever is the landing runway. All right, I'm going to show you the picture of the arrivals or the arrival. Let's see if I can find Oshkosh. All right. All right, so here is basically the arrival, I call them spider routes. So if you look, basically each one of these points, so Oxy, P&T, Dubuque, Booty, Wilkes, Green Bay, I don't know what MBL is, Welco, Gretsch, and Smooth. Those are all the entry points into the IFR routing structure to get to Oshkosh. So just depending on which direction you're coming from, pick the one that works best for you. So from MBL, you're going to go to Nero and then direct. Welco is the same, Nero and direct. From Getch, you're going to go to Gale and Falls and direct. From Smooth, you're also going to go to Gale and Falls and direct. And recognize that all of these are over water. So if you're uncomfortable going over water, then you need to come down to OXI. And it's OXI maps, SMARS, and then V9 to the arrival here. This from SMARS all the way through here is all V9. So Victor 9. And then if you're PNT, you just pick up Victor 9 and fly Victor 9 all the way in. If you're coming in from the Dubuque way, then you're going to go, and I didn't write, I apologize. This is you'll have to look in the NOTAM. This is an airway too. I believe it's 349. So Victor 349 to MSN and then Victor 9 on into Oshkosh. Booty is to DLL, so where all of our friends are tonight and hanging out and having a great time. And then to Rando and then Victor 9 on into Osh. And if you're coming from up in the north, it's Wilkes to Ripon and then to Osh or Green Bay direct to Osh. So that's basically generically all the routes. Those are all, I believe, on either page 24 or page 25 of the NOTAM. And I apologize, in my mind, when I set this up, I was going to have the NOTAM open in front of me, but my son's going to be my co-pilot, and I gave it to him about 10 minutes ago to read and didn't get it back from him before I started. So apologize for that. All right. That's what I've got on the IFR arrivals. I am not even going to talk about IFR departures. All the reservations are the same way. There's a lot more relative term. I think it's about 15 an hour for departures, IFR departures out of Oshkosh. But same thing, you request them inside of 72 hours, and then there's departure routings. And so obviously we've got a week to figure out the departures. So the arrivals was the hard part, was the closest alligator to the boat. So that's why I just covered that. So that being said, that's all I've got on IFR departures. Has anybody got any questions on the IFR stuff, or is there any saved rounds on the map or using ForeFlight to draw the stuff on there? Or do you have questions? I know we didn't talk a lot about the NOTAM last week. I'm not an expert. Like I said, I'm not a CFI, but I did read the NOTAM about 25 times in the last 3 days. So does anybody have any questions on the NOTAM? If I can't answer them, I'll most certainly go look them up for you and get back to you.
You made that map yourself using the same procedures, the same methods? Because you made that math for our benefit, that map?
Yeah, yep, I did. The map with all the spider routes on it, the IFR routes, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because that
yeah, I did make it for your benefit. I will tell you that I'm not I think, did my screen share go away, or can you guys still see my screen share?
It's gone away.
Okay. I'll tell you that I did a bunch of flight plan tricks to make it not connect points that I didn't want connected. So you couldn't fly the route that I used to make that out of. I built that just so you guys could see it all see all the routes on one page.
Yeah, I understand. You use the same method because you used a pencil to write in the other ones.
No, this one, the spider routes, I actually went into the flight planning log up at the top of the map on ForeFlight, and I typed in, and I actually typed in the points, the arrival points. And so that's actually a ForeFlight route. Again, it's very convoluted, and I set it up. It's not something you would ever fly. I set it up just so it would display that way for everybody to look at.
Could you have typed in on where you used a pencil before? Could you type in things?
Absolutely. So ForeFlight, so yes, so ForeFlight, all those visual points, E and V, hold on, let me zoom in here so I make sure that I get it right. All those visual points, so E and V, can I bring my share back up, Pete? Is that
Yes,
okay?
yeah, I was going to say, you need to bring it back up.
Yeah. Give me just a second. It takes it a second to come back up. The answer to your question while it's coming back up is yes. You most certainly can type in, and I think right there at the end of when I was talking about the VFR arrival. So you can see there. So, all right, let me get my little pen down here where I can point, where I can have a pointer again. Okay, so yeah, so ENV, VP PLK, VP GRN, VP RIK, and FISC are all FAA points that ForeFlight and the system knows. And so so you can see, if you see my flight log up here, I just typed them in just like you would any other normal route, and ForeFlight knew them.
Okay, so that's how it comes up printed, because you typed them in here and it comes out.
Yeah, and so my drawing is underneath that, and like I said, the reason I went with the drawing is that way if something changes in the middle of the route and I'm too busy looking outside, I don't have to, all the information is still there, and I don't have to try to reach in and start typing stuff on ForeFlight to get what I need.
Right. Yeah, I think we need to develop the same. I'm an instrument instructor as well, but it took a student to show me how to type in on approach plates. A lot of handy notes for every approach that you have. So you're bringing up the RNAV for either 9 or 27. It's nice to type in some notes on that approach plate. And like you say, those things will stay when that approach plate comes up.
And I'll tell you the one drawback that I found in this system, and I'm actually, while we're at Oshkosh, I'm going to walk by the ForeFlight booth and just mention it to them, because they in the past I've always been super responsive to to customers, is when you draw something, you can't erase stuff. I mean, you can erase it, but you can't like go, okay, well, I don't like VPGRN right here, I'm going to erase that. Right. It remembers the order that you wrote it down in, so you can go up here to the back button, and it'll let you back out. But like if VPGRN was the very first thing you wrote, you would have to erase everything you wrote after that to get to it. So hence, that's why I just scratched out this up here, because I wrote it early and I wasn't going to go back and rewrite my whole thing just to get rid of that.
Yeah, remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Scratch.
So that's probably, I'll be honest with you, I mean, I've spent 3 nights spending a lot of time just messing around with it, and that's probably about the only drawback that I found. And I did have to experiment a little bit with colors and thickness of lines to figure out what's the easiest to see, and it obviously going to depend on which map you like to use and what the color of the background is. And, it'll be, and, everybody's eyes are different. So what's easy for you to see.
Right, you said too, you could switch the map, so you could put a VFR chart in there, and all your annotation is permanent. It
is on top of it. The annotation is always the top. So the only thing that's above the drawing is the actual route line. Everything, so it's the route line, and then the drawing, and then all the map is below that, is layer wise.
It's quite a talent. It's makes it quite artistic. And the more you do it, the more benefit it'll pay for you. You're doing that for us. We need to do it for ourselves when we're flying either VFR or IFR. In a case,
and we all know, we all know that, if you can sit down and draw this onto your ForeFlight, if you've read the NOTAM enough that you can sit down and draw this onto your ForeFlight, then you probably know the NOTAM already anyway. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it takes me 7 times to learn something, so this gives you 3 or 4 right there, and you may not need these NOTAMs when it comes.
My goal, like I said, my goal is to be able to when I get to the entry point, whichever one it is, let's just say it's going to be E and V there, is to not have to pull that dang packet of papers out of my bag
Absolutely.
before I land. That's my goal.
Yeah, you've got something else to do too, is just watch other traffic. So
That's right.
just
That's right. I'd rather be looking outside than looking down at a piece of paper.
absolutely.
All right. So that's any other questions? Like I said, I'm happy. Spears, bullshit flags. Anything anybody else has got? Awesome. Well, Pete, that's all I've got. Like I said, I screwed up my schedule. I'm here with my family, so I apologize. I'm going to have to bail out and not be able to sit in on the rest of it, but I'm definitely going to come back and watch the recording of the laser altimeter. So looking forward to hearing about that. I look forward to seeing a bunch of you guys up at OSH this week. I'm getting there tomorrow and I'll be there through at least Thursday, I hope. So y'all have a great evening and have safe flying, and hope to see you in the next week.
Thanks
Thank you very much. Jim did a great job. Thank you. And like he said, it's a recording. So if anybody wants to go back and review it, this is you'll be able to do that tomorrow, mid-morning out here in Connecticut. I'll have that on the website so you can get at it. And I guess there's Ned ready to go on with yours. We'll move on to the second topic.
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, you're welcome to share. Go for it.
Very good. Hi, guys. My name again is Ned Robb from MicroKit Solutions. We are the creators of the landing height system. It's a laser-based, FAA doesn't want us to call it ground proximity. They're saying it's confusing. So that's why it's called landing height instead of a ground proximity. So it's a laser-based unit, and I have a unit here in hand. This is the size of the whole unit, including the laser element. The unit comes with a quick disconnect wiring, or obviously the mating wire will be with it. And that is per the certification, it needs to be installed on an access panel. So the quick disconnect allows you next annual or whenever an inspection is needed to drop the whole unit still attached to the access panel and just, quick disconnect it. And then you have access to the area there. The landing height system is NORC certified, not STC. And it's considered a minor alteration. So an IA is not required for installation. Any A and B, actually any A, airframe only, because it's not power plant. So any A or A and B is just needs to install it and do an entry log into your logbook, airframe logbook, that it was installed per the installation guide. The unit, as we said, uses a laser. One comment I have regarding, you guys mentioned earlier that if it's got dirty, it's not going to work. Only if it's got really fully enclosed with exhaust suit, it's not going to work. But laser really goes through a lot of things. So some dirt, the one we have in our Lance Air, it's not been cleaned for 3 years now, the screen, the glass. Obviously it's not in the there's no exhaust suit comes to it. So, but it's just the natural flying debris and dirt and stuff, and that still goes through it. So it will still work. You will notice that the first initial, you will notice if you're having dirt on it, that the higher number is not going to be called out. The lower number will be. So the range will be just becomes smaller. And that's where you notice that you need to clean the screen. As we said, the only location is allowed is an access panel. So any other location, where you cannot drill into the airframe or the wing, you have to use an access panel. There's always an access panel that can be used for inspection of spars. You cannot use an access panel that is for build crank of the ailerons or the flaps. So a clear access panel for other things can be used. The system is straightforward for installation. A lot of our customers tell us that they actually do part of the installation themselves under supervision. So they don't take it to a shop. They just have a freelancer AMP or an AMP that comes in, and by that time they have all the all of the areas and access panel cut out, and the AMP comes in and just hook up the wires. It only needs 4 wires for it to be connected. Most of the time, 99%, you're going to use 3 wires only. Obviously 2 wires for power, 12 volt or 24 volt and ground, and 1 wire for audio. The second wire, the 4th wire is required if you decided you want to install it on a music input channel, not the standard channel like ADF, DME, COM3, NAV3, NAV2. Those are standard, requires 1 audio wire. But if you want to put it on a music input jack, then you will require the 2 wires. But just a note, in that case, you will not hear the system if somebody else talking to the radio, because your audio panel will auto mute the music input when somebody or tower is talking over the radio, over the air. So we do not recommend the music inputs, but if that's the only choice, that's fine. Basically, the landing height system calls out from 200 feet all the way to 1. In the experimental world, the unit actually started in the experimental world 5 years ago, 2016. And just 2.5 years ago, we started the certification process, and we just got it at the beginning of this year, 2021. So it started 5 years ago in the experimental world. In the experimental world, it goes all down all the way to 0. It tells you 0 actually, and that's the first time your tire hits the ground is where it tells you 0. It's the error factor of this unit, 30 feet and below is only 1 inch, and 200 feet to 30 feet is 2 inches. So that's the error factor or margin that you may expect, not more than 2 inches across the entire operation. So it basically, the system includes a laser element, a LiDAR, that is eye safe. So even if you look at it, it's not going to hurt the eye, and includes an audio system to hook up to your audio system, and includes the main control unit and a Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is basically for you to set up the unit. When you install the unit on an access panel, it's going to be sitting, let's say 15 inches above the ground. So if you don't set it up, if you don't tell the unit that it's installed at 15 inches, it's going to do the call out based on that height that it's seeing 15 inches. So the Wi-Fi is really only used once, is when you install the unit, you just go there and until you are installed at 15 inches. So now it's reference the bottom of your tire. That is the 0 for it. And that's how, and that's Wi-Fi is there. Wi-Fi is also used to set up other options like the check landing gear message. That message comes up after you pass 200 feet or 100 feet or 70. It will just give you a reminder. It's not hooked up to the actual landing gear, so it will still come up even if you have the gear down. So a lot of people, they just glance at the 3 light when they hear that message. It's just like the final, if you are 200 feet or 100 feet, you should have the gear down by then anyway. So they just glance to confirm that I got three green, and they continue. That message is an optional thing. You have to go to the Wi-Fi to set it up. And that's how it operates. It's really very simple to install. If your airplane is something that you can remove the glare shield, that makes the installation much faster. Other Pipers like the Cherokees, you have to go under the panel to get to the audio panel. So it needs a channel into your audio panel and it needs power. The Mooney is similar to this type, where you can remove the glare shield and access the audio panel immediately. And a lot of people in the morning said that it's a 2 hours install that they were quoted at, because it's straightforward really to install the unit. Once it's set up, once it's installed, there's nothing on the panel, so you don't have to install anything on the panel. That's the entire unit. It just runs, you know, and it only runs. It doesn't announce on takeoff. It only announces on landing, even though the unit does know that you're taking off, but it's designed not to actually do any call outs on takeoff. Excuse me. But it does do a go around. So if you didn't reach, you know, below, you didn't actually land it, and you started to go around, it will start announcing the go around as well, just to help you in clearing a 50-foot obstacle at the end of the runway. I would like to share a video. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at, you know, we got tons of videos on the website, both the experimental and the certified. The certified videos and the certified website is thelandingheight.com. The experimental one is enginebridge.com. That site is dedicated to our experimental products. We have several experimental products for experimental airplanes. So we didn't want to join them together so there'd be no confusion if somebody's looking for the certified version. But that's enginebridge.com also includes a lot of videos in the Lance Air and other experimental airplanes. There is a video that I would like to share with you guys that is not on our website. This one is okay. Here it is. I think I can share it now. This one is an engine out on takeoff test that we made. Are you guys able to see the screen now? Okay, very good.
Yes, we can see it.
So this is basically just you know, the pilot will pull the power after takeoff, and it will show that the system is actually, you know, helping out in the engine out on takeoff.
$50, $20, $10, $5, $2, $1, $0. Nice.
And another video. So really, from our last, you know, 5 years dealing with customer with this, a lot of people tell us that they each one developed their own technique using the system. There's no one way of flying the landing height system. For example, in my Lance Air, I come in with power, you know, obviously because I'm approaching at 90 knots. So I'm coming with power, and I hear 2 decrease power, I hear 1 pull power out, and that's it. The airplane will always, you know, do a greasing landing. Other people have, for example, here's a video of somebody doing a very shallow approach. He's going into a runway that is really bad runway, and the only usable part is like 600, 700 feet. So he's using it to know, because he's coming shallow. Normally, when you are landing, you are 50 above the numbers. This guy is 20, and he's still way out of the airport. Let's see, I'm gonna play this now. I think I have to decrease the screen.
10, 5, 2, 1.
And then another video I will show you guys. This is the video. This video coming up is available on the site. This is while we're trying to demonstrate night landing, and this is the Piper Warrior that we converted into experimental to allow us to actually do testing on it before the certification. And one of the tests, obviously, we did a lot of night landings, even though all of this has really been tested in the experimental world, but the FAA wanted, specific certified airplane testing. This guy, the pilot, is doing a low approach, and a lot of people actually have been trying to replicate this, to try, be on the runway 1 feet all the way to the runway.
70, 50, 20, 10, 5, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 50, 20, 10, 5, 2, 1, 0.
So that's really what the system do. That's it. It just gives you the height, AGL, above a surface. In the experimental world, we do get some customer, we are able to in the experimental world that they don't want certain filtering. For example, we are able to help formation flying by mounting the units on the wing, and it will tell it that his other wing is 2 or 3 feet above it or below it. So we have a lot of different firmware, let's put it this way, that allow us a lot of Reno racing using it for them to know if they want to maintain a 20-foot constant AGL. So also it can be done in the experiment. In the certified world, we're really limited to what we can change the firmware to. But for the certified world, it's really, starts at 200 now. It used to be 100, but then we got approval to go above the 100 and do 200. And then 200, 100, 70, 50, 20, 10, 5, 2, and 1. Let me go back here now. And I want to see if anybody got a question. I am also an FAA A&P mechanic, so if there's any question regarding installation, I should be able to answer it.
When you're, there's a lot of vocal there. Will air traffic control override that vocal?
If you use a channel similar to what we recommend, like ADF channel, then it will be mixed. For example, you're flying and you want to identify an ILS or a nav station. You will hear the Morse code. You click on that nav2 to identify it, and you hear the Morse code while you are hearing other comm radio. So those channels get mixed, and that's why we call it switch channel or audio. If you decided the only channel that will be muted is either the aux or the music, depending on your audio panel. Those by certification needed to be auto muted. They don't want you to be listening to music if a tower calling, But other channels, no, it will not. We do have other videos that will actually, you can hear the numbers talking you can hear the numbers talking while there's a radio, communication. I think I am trying to get the video. I think this is the video.
70, 50, 20, 10,
Maybe not that one.
5, 2, 1, 0.
No, not I picked up the wrong video. But no, it mixes with your normal comm if you specifically select the correct channel. ADF, nav free, comm free, nav 2, DME if you don't have a DME. aux in certain audio panels will also mix. Obviously, this is audio panel related, so check your audio panel documentation to see if they will auto mute on that channel or not.
It's gonna be important if air traffic control has something for you to do, like go around, and this guy is telling you what your altitude is. The go around instruction is a little bit more important.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So it does mix. It does mix. You will hear the go around.
Yeah.
And in the case of the music input, you will hear the go around as well. You will not hear the numbers.
Right.
So in both cases, you will hear the go around.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have pictures of one of these things installed? We have an idea how they get placed in the aircraft.
Yes. We have several pictures on site. Let me just pull up that page. And I'll move it over. So that's on a Piper Warrior. This is on a 182 Skyline. And this is on a Mooney. So this one is the other model, the third model. This is the same model that we are showing here, and that's the same model. This on this Piper Warrior, which is a choice, he elected to remove the access panel, get a aluminum plate, same thickness, and cut that instead of cutting the actual access panel. He wanted that customer wanted that industrial look. It's aluminum, unpainted silver plate. But otherwise, if you use the original access panel and cut it, it'll be the same thing, really. The system just needs to be looking at the ground. It can look at the ground at an angle, no problem, but it needs to be looking at the ground, obviously. And it needs to be not close, well, up to 3 inches away from like really fairings or inner doors, inner gear doors. So it's not looking at that, because otherwise it will be a constant. It's not seeing anything changes. If it's hitting part of your airframe or fairings or doors, it's going to be always seeing that. It's not going to see changes in altitude. But it only needs to be away at least 3 inches, because the laser beam itself is very small. The spot is 0.5 degrees out of the window here. So by the time it hits the ground, it's about 2 inches, or 1 inch max, when it's like, let's say 35 inches away.
Okay.
My
now,
audio.
I understand there's a potential group buy on this. Can you give us an idea of the general cost and what we might be able to saving if we're doing on a group?
Yes, so currently it's $925 online, retail, and we're talking with CJ, and we said we're happy to offer you guys if 20% on 10 pieces to 19, and 25% on 20 pieces to 29, and 30% on 30 plus. So that will come up for the 10 pieces, 185 off, and for the 20 pieces, 232 off, and for the 30 plus, 278 off. And those are percentages of, obviously, of the 925 online retail price. There is an $8 UPS ground shipping anywhere in the US, a flat rate, and a flat rate of $45 worldwide anywhere in the world. We do have it, it can be installed on, for, outside internationally, but there are certain processes per country. In Canada, they recognize North Sea certification, so no problem. In Europe, you need to apply for a special permit per registration. And my understanding, it's just a standard procedure. We do have a lot of customers in Australia, over 40 customers in Australia. There's in Australia, there is something called EO, engineering order. So you send in an engineering order and they will allow you to install it on your airplane based on the the North Sea certification. So it also works obviously internationally for international customers.
Some of us have older audio panels. I'm uncertain how the volume is controlled. How's the volume set on the unit? I have auxiliary input, but I don't have a separate volume control for that input. I'm not certain how that's done.
There is a volume control inside the Wi-Fi. The unit comes by default at maximum volume. Per certification, the FAA mandates that we cannot produce more than 0.9 watt output on our audio wires. So 0.9 watt output normally is sufficient. We do have several customers with KMA 20, the old audio panel, and that works perfectly. The one that you guys hear on the audio on the Piper Warrior videos, those are using the KMA 20, one of the oldest audio panels in the certification world. PMA 7000, 8000, and Garmin, several customers with the Garmin audio panel, all of them, nobody complained about the volume. The audio panel normally is capable of producing the volume enough. If you want to lower it, you can lower it from our side because by default it comes full volume, and you have up to 25 settings that you can lower it, 25 scale that you can lower the volume if you want. Some people actually installed it directly into their headset. So obviously you need a new headset, one of them, let's say, newer headset that is capable of amplifying the signal. But a couple of guys told us that they just hooked it up to their headset directly. They didn't even involve the audio panel.
Okay, thank you very much.
I got a quick question. Is there a digital or a visual device for it to call out the altitudes, or is it all just audio?
No, it's all audio, and you can see on Wi-Fi if you fly with the iPad or iPhone looking at that page, you can see the numbers of the Wi-Fi. Obviously, one of the good points with the FAA that we had is that we don't have something on the panel, and that was intentional. We didn't want the pilots at the last few feet looking inside, so it's all through your headset. It keeps your eye outside, really.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good point. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I joined late, so you've probably answered this, but it communicates via Bluetooth. Is that true?
No, it goes directly to your audio panel. So there's no, the Wi-Fi communication is just for you to do the setup, the messages, just like setup and firmware update.
So then it's hardwired to the panel?
Correct. To your audio panel. You select a channel like, you know, ADF, DME, and use that channel, unused channel, obviously. And keep that channel always on. And this way, whenever you come to land, you will start hearing it. You don't have to remember to switch on the channel off and on, you know. The switched channel that we call it, which is the audio panel, like your ADF button or nav3 button or nav2, we recommend that type of channels because it per the regulation, per the certification, if you don't use those channels, you're gonna have to put a dedicated circuit breaker for it. But by using those input channel, the FAA says, yeah, then no need for dedicated circuit breaker because the pilot can on demand reach out and disable the audio. The reason they want you to disable the audio is obviously that they recommend don't always fly on the system. Try sometimes to fly without it. So you can just disable it if you want. And in case, you know, you're changing airplanes. And in hard IMC, because the laser sees a surface, that's how it knows that, you know, it gets reflected back from a surface. If you're flying 3,000 feet, obviously it's not going to see the ground. The range is 300 feet. So it's not reporting anything. But if you're flying in a hard IMC there with ice crystals on it, there are ice crystals around you, it's going to hit those. And in hard IMC, you may get some call out. We get reports, people saying that I was flying 3,000 feet and it was pouring rain and I heard 2 or 3 times 20. We'll tell them, yeah, there you have ice crystals 20 feet away from you. That's where it is. So in IMC, our recommendation is, and the FAA tells us that tell the customers either ignore it, you know, let it talk or disable it, audio. Obviously, remember to put it on before you come to land to use it. But otherwise, if you are descending with pouring rain, you're gonna get the correct call out. So the problem is not rain. The problem is an actual ice crystals. You can be descending in an approach and you have rain, that will work perfectly because the airplane is descending. If the airplane is straight and level and you have heavy rain, then the system will see, oh, there's something that is, you know, coming closer to the airplane without the rain. And that's how it's announced, you know, and especially in hard IMC. So it's not really usable on IMC conditions. And obviously 200 foot and below, you wouldn't be on IMC anyway. That will be the minimum, you know, minimums for an IFR approach here in this country. So you should be in VMC conditions, or at least legal to, you know, to see the runway to be able to go down below 200 foot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any difference between the reaction over water?
Was that question regarding water, or I didn't hear the question fully?
Yes, I occasionally use the runway, which is I have to go approaches over a lake.
Yes, the laser does not work over water. If the water is choppy, you know, it's got ripples, it will hit back the ripple and come back. From our testing, if you know, we go over a lake and or, you know, over water and there's, you know, ripples, we will get correct readings. If the water is, you know, crystal clear, we get the bottom of the lake. So if the water is, you know, 10 feet, it's gonna reach the bottom and come back. And that's how laser is. It's just the actual technology does not really report the top of the water. So it doesn't work over water. FAA specifically says in the approval that you cannot use it over water, but obviously once you reach the land, it's gonna start working. Yeah. We do have a specific unit that works for water. It's using an ultrasonic sensor instead of a laser sensor, and that can be used over water and ground. Obviously, it's ultrasonic, but it's not approved for certified airplanes.
Thank you.
I see there's a question in the chat. Can it give a don't sink call on a go around if you don't continue climbing? The system, I mean, if I understood correctly, so do you mean that if you stay straight and level and start going back again down, would it say don't sink? If that's what I understand from that chat question? The system.
That's what a lot of things on like an airliner will do is if you do a go around and you don't continue to climb, like you started descend after starting.
I understand. Yes.
It would give you some kind of warning.
I understand. Now on the airliner, you click a button saying you are going around, so that it knows that you're going around. In our system, I mean, it's general aviation. A lot of people might just, go a little bit up and then want to continue, their landing. So we're able to modify the firmware if that's something, we see a lot of people want. But I mean, if it's going to give you don't sink, it's not going to be calling your numbers, but while you actually need the numbers to know that you're coming down. So for example, if you reach 1 and you start going up, it's going to tell you 2, 5, 10. If you decided, oh, okay, now I fixed my speed, let me make the landing, I still have 6,000 runway, and it went down, it's going to tell you don't sink instead of 10, 5, 2, 1, and that's what we need, 10, 5, 2, 1, to know how close. So, but it's all firmware. We're able really to do the firmware, but it doesn't right now. It does not have that option because it's really general aviation. You're not really committed to go around, similar to airliner, where if once they do a go around, they have to do the go around. I don't know if that answered the questions. Very good. Any other question regarding installation or operation?
You know what I'm saying?
You answered my previous question by the fact that if you're on the ADF button, then you've got audio on ADF and you can reach up and just shut it off if air traffic control is calling you.
Yeah, but you don't have to shut it off. The audio, the comm radio is higher priority than the ADF channel.
Yeah, gotcha.
So the system automatically will put that higher by default. So you will hear, even though in the background you're hearing 5, 2, 1, you will definitely hear the the tower.
Right.
Yeah, and so no need really to put a mental note of I have to reach out and switch off. Really, otherwise, I mean that's just going to be more complex.
Yeah, that's what was important to me because
Yeah.
air traffic control is ultimately important in any phase of flight.
I would suggest anybody that has interest in getting in on these on this group buy tonight, go into the chat window, put in your name and contact information and say, yes, I'm interested. It'll be saved in the chat and we can share that with Deb at any point once I do the thing online. So if you want to get in on it, this is not a commitment. This is an interest only kind of thing, but yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Would that stay recorded for everybody else to see those contact details, or because my suggestion, what I was talking to CJ about, is that you guys send it to CJ saying yes, please include me in that list.
We can do that.
Yeah. So
you could also send it to me at Piper32papa@gmail.com. I'll put that into the chat so you can do that for me. And I'll be happy to collect the names and get them to the right people.
What we will do, we probably, once you guys tell us that yes, we have a commitment of let's say 20, we will send you guys, or send you, Pete, a coupon code with the discount, and you just give it to those people. and then everybody will go to online and do their own order using that coupon code. They will get the off. And this way we have their details of each order and their email in our system, and they get their own, they will be shipped to them, each one. And this way, whenever there is a firmware update, they are part of the system instead of, a single person order. So we're just going to give you a coupon code, and that will, allow you to use that discount.
Great.
And then we want to keep it, 10 days. So it's not just a tonight decision,
Right. This is the beginning of letting us know that you want to do it, or are
Perfect.
interested in doing it.
Exactly. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, I really, thank you for this opportunity. And please, I do understand that there is a one guy that he installed it on your fleet, right?
At least.
So, yes. Yeah, and then, not everybody fills there. We have a small optional box in the order line, in the order online that, say, tell us your airplane. So not everybody fills that, but from our record is only one, Comanche. And I believe, I'm not sure if he's with us today, but I thought that he, I think CJ said he's going to be to also tell about his own experience about it.
CJ is in the air on our way to Oshkosh. Well, not Oshkosh, but to the starting point for their approach.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
right now she's incommunicado.
Yeah, no, but that's not. I don't think it's CJ the one who installed it. I think somebody else.
Yeah, there was someone told her about it, and that got her
correct.
excited.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
All right. Actually, if you guys don't mind, right now Les is on also as a co-host. If he wants to hang around, he can keep the Zoom going. At this point, what I think I am going to do is end my participation. I'll stop the recording and get to work at putting it on the website for tomorrow. It will be available mid-morning tomorrow on the website. Go to northeastcomanche.com and click on Comanche Zoom. Down at the bottom of that page, you will see the list of the recorded Comanche Zooms. It should be the top one. I do them in reverse order. The newest one is on top. So you should just click on the link and review this at your leisure, both about the altimeter and also about the use of ForeFlight in the approach to Oshkosh or anywhere else. I mean, that sounds like I'm beginning to get sold on the idea of ForeFlight myself. I don't use it, and it's looking much more popular to me. So with that, I am going to get out of here, and I'm going to leave Les as the host at the time, and I'm going to stop the recording.